Podcast in the history of the known universe with me, Fred Faour, the Falconcast. Hope everybody's having an awesome week. It's been a busy one. We did a bonus show the other day when the Justin Verlander trade happened, but I'll get into all the cool stuff we have coming up in just a minute. But right now, let's just jump right in because it's always fun when AJ Hoffman's on the show. Fantastic Twitter follow if you're not already doing it, but if you're listening to this show, you probably are. Chat on Twitch if you want to participate. We'd love to have you. And I want to start off with the Verlander trade. And it was funny, AJ, because I did it with Dalton Brown and BC and Houston. And when the trade deadline passed, I'm like, okay, let's do like 15 minutes on it. We wound up doing an hour and 15 minutes. And
Big news, baby.
Yeah, it was. And there was a lot to it. And I'm just kind of curious to get your thoughts on the whole thing. And I saw some of your Twitter thoughts, so I'll definitely ask you about those. But just in general, for the people of Houston, what you thought of the trade?
I mean, I think it's obviously huge. The Astros needed something, and really, they needed bullpen help. I think more than anything. But the way, and it's funny in hindsight, but the way that Fromber had looked for the last couple starts before the no hitter, it was like, man, like who do you throw in game one of a playoff series and feel good about it? Like if that's what Fromber was going to be. Now I think, going into these playoffs, you game one and game two, it's like they're no doubters. You feel great about your chances, no matter who's on the other side. The handful of pitchers that are better than what the Astros have, a couple of them aren't even going to make it looks like Garrett Cole's not going to make the playoffs. So you're in a pretty good spot there. And then I thought, the compensation was fine. How I've always been this way. Like if you've got a proven commodity that you can get for some lottery tickets, give me the proven commodity. Just because the odds of those prospects ever becoming anything are slim. I thought in particular, and a Rangers fan was going back and forth with me on Twitter about the Astros gave up more than the Rangers did for Max Scherzer. And I was like, I don't think so. Like the Rangers gave up a top 50 prospect. The Astros didn't have a top 100 prospect. So because they gave up the number 1 and number 4 guy in their farm system, which is awful, you gave up the third guy in your farm system. If the Astros had tried to trade their 2 prospects for Acuna, the Rangers would have laughed at them. Like the Rangers just gave up a more valuable piece. It's like saying, okay, Fred, I get the third biggest bill in your wallet, which is full of hundreds and 20s. And you get the biggest bill and the fourth biggest bill in my wallet, which is full of 5s and 1s. I'm going to win that deal because that's just the math of it. I'm getting the best piece. So I think that's what the Astros gave up less than the Rangers did for Max Scherzer. I think the sticking point for a lot of things was the concern about 2 years from now with Justin Verlander. I think next year the Astros are probably glad to have him again. 2 years from now, you're talking about a guy who it may be tough to swallow, especially given that the Astros basically paid for a free year of Justin Verlander. Like, I don't think anybody's ever going to complain because of what the dude brought to the city, to the team, but he did get basically an injury year where they had to pay him. And I think there was some concern they'll have to do that again, but it's good to see the Astros acting like a big boy organization instead of like trying to nickel and dime their way through this thing. So I think overall it's fantastic.
Yeah, the 3 takes that drove me nuts. And one, I'm going back to the prospects. It's like, oh, you gave up way too much with Drew Gilbert. And it's like, how many of you have actually seen this guy play? Come on. He was a first-round pick, but he wasn't like a top 5 pick, let's be honest. And, he may turn out to be a player, but so what? The other thing is like, wow, why didn't you just sign him in the offseason? Well, in the offseason, you had 7 pitchers, and it made sense to let him walk. And now that you've had all these injuries, and oh, by the way, you're not paying full price. The Mets basically gave you $50 million.
Yeah.
To buy those 2 prospects. And
if the Mets had offered before the season to give the Astros $50 million for those two prospects, what do you think they would have said? Of course. Of course you can have those two guys for $50 million. Like it'd
Yeah.
be absurd not to. So if you look at the trade like that, that's what the Astros did. They got Justin Verlander anyway, and they gave up two prospects for $50 million. Sounds like a big win for the Astros.
Yeah, so you're basically getting Justin Verlander for under 20 million a year for the 3 years, which is basically Lance McCullers' money. And I don't know if you remember Lance McCullers, but he's this guy that the Astros signed a few years back that we've never seen because he breaks. But yeah, I mean, to me, it's just a no-brainer. And the other thing that it does, and we'll go back to the Fromber no-hitter a little bit, having a guy like that at the top of the rotation, it's hard to be that guy. And Fromber's a great pitcher, but
he's never been asked to be that guy.
No, and now he doesn't have to be, and Christian Javier doesn't have to be that guy. Yeah. And mentally, it takes a lot of the pressure off of those guys. And I think you basically have the same team you had last year now that won the World Series. So I love the trade, and that's probably why I rambled on about it for an hour with the boys the other day. But I just don't see a negative in this, and the people saying you gave up too much. It's like, hey, what do you really know about these cats?
So you went from having like the 28th farm system to the 30th. Okay. Like everybody knew, like, and the people who say the Astros didn't get punished for the World Series or for the cheating scandal, like they forget that those 2 years of no first or second round draft picks now, like at the trade deadline, that's when that hurts you. Like when you don't have the pieces to trade. The Rangers had so many. The Astros, their farm system was depleted. That's top 2 picks every year is a big deal, and it hurt them. And the fact that they were able to get this thing done by giving up the best of what they had, the best of their raggedy ass prospects, great news, man. Like I said, if it takes you from being the 28th best farm team to the 30th best farm team, who cares? Your farm team sucks. Astros fan also needs to accept, like, when this run ends, there may be some lean years, but if some lean years come after winning 3 World Series over a 8-year span,
yeah,
awesome. Bring on the lean years after that. I don't care. Like, you just won 3 World Series. It's worth every penny. No one will not make the deal knowing that they can win a World Series. And I don't know if the Astros could have won a World Series without Justin Verlander.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they were going to. I thought they were in a good spot, but not a great spot. But now, especially getting the bats healthy and getting Altuve and Alvarez back, and now your lineup's starting to look like it was supposed to. I wish they'd gotten another bat, but it's like you said, they didn't have the prospects to sell off.
Nope.
And I mean, unless you're, consider Jake Myers still a prospect, which I don't. I consider him useless, but that's the thing. You just didn't have the horses to go out and do a whole bunch. So I think this is as well as they could have done in the situation. I think this team is really set up now to win the division. I mean, they're a half game back, and half their guys have been in the hospital for months. And I just think this changes. We always talked about this on the show before. When you have that guy, and there's not many of them. Scherzer's been that guy. Verlander's been that guy. I think Cole's that guy. When you have that guy, Clayton Kershaw, for instance, and maybe the postseason success isn't necessarily there, but for during the season, when you have somebody like that, you can put at the top of the rotation. That's a guy that can stop a losing streak, and that takes pressure off of everybody, and especially down the stretch here. I don't see how this doesn't make them a World Series contender again.
And I think it also puts a jolt into the clubhouse. I think I think it's a coincidence that Fromber pitched so well the day after that trade gets made, because everybody's feeling good. We're making a run. Think about the Mets are about to get swept by the freaking Royals. Like, the Mets clubhouse is downtrodden right now. They had plans to win the whole freaking thing this year. Remember, the Mets were like a co-favorite. Yeah. They were tied to be the favorite with the Dodgers, to be the favorites going to win the World Series going into the season. Imagine what it's like to be in that room right now, and you look and Scherzer's locker's empty, Verlander's locker's empty, Dave Robertson's locker's empty. All these lockers are empty. It's like, what are we doing here? Well, this was supposed to be a year for us to win. I mean, I can't imagine those guys are even excited about playing out the rest of the season. I think everybody in the Astros clubhouse is now pumped, knowing they're about to make a big run.
Yeah, and I think they needed a little bit of a jolt too. I mean, it's when you look at the run of success they've had, it's real easy to get a little bit complacent now. I mean, they've been the 4 World Series, they've won 2, they're there every year, and those seasons get long because you're playing so much extra baseball. And I thought they needed something that would kind of get them going again, and this works. And I think that this is definitely going to get them back in the back in the running for the World Series. I got to take a second to tell you guys about the Phoenix on Westheimer. And if you are a Women's World Cup fan, they've got all the games. It doesn't matter what time they are.
Big
And
fan.
even in the middle of the night. Now, the kitchen will be open, but they have to stay within TABC hours for alcohol. But go check them out. Tomorrow is Friday. You can go by there. You'll probably see me there tomorrow afternoon. That's my Friday afternoon hangout place. And I've been telling you about the fundraiser we have coming on August 26th. It'll be over on Navigation, and it's going to be 3 to 9 p.m. And they'll have all kinds of great food. And basically, for your ticket, you get food. You're going to get a chance to. We have an amazing. Michael from Pickney Events is going to bring his photo booth, so you can take all your photos with him, and they'll be professional. We're going to have some famous people there. John McClane's going to be there, working on a few others, hoping to get Carl Lewis there. And you can just go take your picture with him, and the money will help Daniel, who is paralyzed from the waist down from a car accident and is a single parent and can't work. So we've got a great lineup for you. My friend Jesse Salinas is going to play. Of course, Dead Money's going to play. DJ Rising's going to be there. We've got a mariachi band. And my good friend Eva Elliott, who's an amazing comedian, is going to MC for us. You can follow her on Instagram at Eva4 Elliott. And it's going to be just a great time. Got a band practice on Sunday to go through the song list and see how much we're going to suck. But that'll be on August 26th. If you get a chance, come on out. And if not, just go over to the Phoenix. Say hello to Vu and shout out to him. It's his birthday today. And you will have a great time, man. Fantastic food. The servers are all great. It's just a cool place to hang out. And yeah, it's a soccer bar, but they have everything else. You go watch the Astros there, whatever you want to do. And that's the Phoenix on Westheimer. I wanted to ask you about the fights Saturday. Start with the boxing, because I thought that was one of the most, considering who he was fighting, I thought that was one of the most impressive things I've ever seen out of Bud Crawford.
Yeah, that is an absolute, just a torching of Errol Spence. I was shocked by it. I thought it was going to be such a good fight, and it was not. It was not competitive. So I said, oh, I'll take Spence at plus 140.
Yeah, me too.
As a dog, or as a big dog, really, because I thought it was really a pick 'em fight. So for it to go the way that it did, I couldn't have been more wrong. He just completely outclassed him. And they were talking about a rematch. I'm like, I don't even want to see that fight again. I've got no interest in a rematch.
Yeah, because if we can rematch the first round, Spence was in it for there. But after that, man, about round 4, I'm like, boy, this was a bad bet.
Yeah.
But just from an individual performance, I don't know that I've seen anyone do that to another fighter of that caliber in a while, and just look like the dominating force in the fight. And
when Tyson Fury fought Deontay Wilder the second time, and Deontay Wilder, he looked like he wanted to quit. His team eventually threw in the towel. He was all angry about it, but he didn't even look like he belonged in the ring with Tyson Fury that night. That's the last time I saw something like that.
Yeah. Gets a good fighder. It's one thing. Sometimes these guys will dominate up and comers or something like that.
I'm talking about in a title fight. You don't get high end boxing matches that are that lopsided very often.
No. So tell me your thoughts on the UFC card. How about our guy Derek Lewis?
Derek Lewis with a big win, baby. That was fun to see.
That.
He did. He'd lost 3 out of 4. He was an underdog. He was a big underdog. You could have got him at plus 200 at one point. But That's a huge win for him, and it was a contract fight, so they've got to negotiate with him now. I'm sure they want to keep him. They don't want to lose him and Derek Lewis, or him and Francis Ngannou, because then you're talking you probably got Francis Ngannou and Derek Lewis fighting in PFL. UFC does not want that. So that was big for him. Dustin Poirier, man, that round 1 of that fight looked like it was just round 5 of the last fight. I liked the way Dustin looked, and he just got caught out of nowhere with a head kick, which I never would have thought was coming either. So great fight by Justin Gaethje. And then the co-main event, Blachowicz and Pereira. I didn't like I bet on Blachowicz, but I didn't like the scoring on it. I watched it a couple times to see if I was just being biased. I still had Blachowicz winning, although I see the argument for the other side. So it wasn't like a robbery or anything, but a really close fight. Blachowicz tried to make it boring and win that way. Didn't get it done. Like, these judges want to see more damage.
Yeah, but it was a cool night for fights. I actually stayed in and bought both, and had one on the TV and one on the computer. And
there you go.
Going back.
Me too.
and really enjoyed it. And it's fun. I mean, since we've been doing this together, I've been really getting back into MMA, because I miss talking with somebody who knows about it, right? Because I don't want to cast aspersions at anyone, but there's nobody in radio in this city that knows crap about MMA. And I don't even know people to talk to anymore, except, occasionally, I know Barry still knows it too. So I've been, I text him every now and then, but yeah, man, I've been getting back into it, and I enjoyed the card, and I'm watching, Fight Night now and stuff like that. You know what I got into, and I always have to have something for you to make fun of me about.
Dog porn.
There's that. They have that. No, it was like a Sunday morning. There was nothing on, so I was watching this, and it was an English promotion of bare knuckle boxing.
Mm.
And I know that's really kind of
grimy,
grimy rock bottoms, especially with all the English guys. Oh, I thought I threw the best punch in the fight, and I thought I knocked him out easily, and I hope his family dies. That kind of thing. But what I found out about it is there's just a lot more knockouts.
Yeah.
And so I was kind of enjoying it, but I also felt it kind of felt like watching porn in front of your grandmother or something. It was just weird.
Yeah, you do. It's like that. That is like one notch above the power slap stuff. Like, it doesn't feel good to watch it. It's like, what are we doing here? Like Luke Rockhold, handsome Luke Rockhold did that. It's what these guys do when they can't make money in the UFC anymore. They go and do these bare knuckle fights, and handsome Luke Rockhold got his teeth smashed in. It's like, oh, it's not worth it, bro. Not worth it. Like, invest your money better. Don't end up like in bare knuckle fighting. Don't do that.
Yeah, but it was just weird, and I couldn't stop watching though. It probably is like dog porn or burrow porn. I don't know. And not Joe Burrow, but like an actual burrow. But yeah, I just couldn't stop watching. I'm like, oh man, why am I doing this? And there was nothing else on. I think there was some. No, there was nothing else on. It was either that, and I've kind of been a little ticked off because when The Witcher and Lincoln Lawyer dropped, they only did 5 episodes. And then Netflix drops them both today for the rest of the season. It's like, I can't do that right now. I got to do a podcast. I can't watch all of them. So I was trying to figure out which one to watch first. So I went with The Witcher, and so far it's been pretty boring. So, but I do have something to watch this weekend besides bare knuckle boxing from England. So
I finished up Hijack on Apple TV.
Oh, I did too. Yeah.
Night. Oh, that's a good show.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I was pleasantly surprised because, like, how do you get 6 episodes out of a hijacked plane? But they did a real good job with it. The only thing is, I thought the ending was just kind of, it was almost like fade to black immediately, right?
Yeah, it's kind of basic, but it was. I mean, it was an intense show. Like the last episode wasn't my favorite one, but it was a good show throughout. I got to give them credit.
Yeah, and I like the way they just kind of layered in these new conspirators. Like almost every show, right?
Yep.
And it went a little deeper, and I enjoyed it. So I finished that one off too, and Um, yeah, I said I didn't have high expectations, but I love Idris Elba, and after I watched the first one, I'm like, yeah, I can get into this. And by the end, I thought I thought the writing was really good from episode to episode. Not all the best acting, but they had the best actor, so there's that. But anyway, I need to tell you about Pick Me Events, and I just mentioned them. PickMeEvents.com. They're going to be at our fundraiser on August 26th. And guys, if you're getting married, which I have two brothers getting married, they got to go to Pick Me Events. They're storytellers as a company, and they believe the experience of your event can have a major impact on guests. And they really want to ensure each and every event is thoughtfully produced and creates a moment that forges your life. And it doesn't have to be a wedding. I mean, if you're having any kind of corporate thing where you want to do something special, go to these guys. They do event development, event innovation, activation, capturing, and creating chemistry. They're founded by industry experts who specialize in cutting edge events and activations to capture the chemistry of your event for guests. Got a charity golf tournament, anything like that, they can do that. Over a decade of experience, they've got a rich knowledge of event activations, resulting in their reputation for creating truly unforgettable moments. Photography, videography, DJ, and of course the photo booths. Whatever it is that's going to make your event special, Pick Me will do it. So go to pickmeevents.com. That's our old buddy Michael from Get Me.
Yeah, man. Good stuff.
Happy to have those guys on board for the pod, and happy to have them there on for our fundraiser, because I'm gonna have enough famous people that you'll want to get your picture taken with. Not me, obviously,
but they can with you.
Yeah, they can if they want. If they want to donate some money, I'm happy to pose.
It makes you look good. Like if you take a picture with Fred, it's like you're going to look good in that photo. Like I don't mind being on the screen with you because it makes me look good. That's a nice thing. I just want to say real quick to the people in the chat. I wish I could reply on the back end of this thing. There's no way for us to type in. So, but I do miss everybody there in Houston, man. It's I miss chatting with you guys. Miss the old Twitch days. So that was fun stuff. But I'm not ignoring everyone. I just don't have the capability of replying on this site.
I do have the capability. My problem is, I'm an old man trying to do all this stuff at once and bounce over to, okay, live read. Okay, make sure AJ's mic's right. And so I try to jump in, but it's also one of those things where if I stop to type and then, I miss something, or, AJ makes fun of me and I don't get to respond, then. But
can't have that.
I'll get better at it. It's just in the beginning, I had some people here with me who would, help with all the technical stuff. But now I kind of feel like I have it now, and it's just a matter. And like a lot of people comment on Facebook, and I'll always respect this. For some reason, you and I both have always gotten more feedback from Facebook than even Twitter. And just on little stuff. So there's a whole Facebook thread going on right now while we're doing it, because it's live on Facebook, that I haven't figured out yet how to put that to where it shows up in the chat here so that I can keep up with it. And now, everybody's really nice. I mean, I guess you guys missed us because, there were some dickweeds out there for a while, and you guys aren't here anymore. So maybe it's just that, it may just be us. I don't know, but and maybe I'm a lot more, I'm a lot more mellow these days. You go through a divorce and get your ass kicked, and then a bunch of bad dates and health problems and everything else, and you're like, yeah, you know what? This is just fun. Let's just have fun with it. Virginia Buttonweed says, "Oh, we're still dickweeds."
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but you're lovable dickweeds now. So hey, I wanted to jump into a little bit. Because last week we had the Colorado, the Big 12 thing. Looks like Arizona is a strong possibility for that, but suddenly the Big 10 is looking at Oregon and Washington, and and there was some talk of Florida State, and I don't know how Florida State gets out of its grants of rights deal. That's like 36, right? Your thought on how you think some of this stuff might play out, because it looks like there's going to be something happen here in the next 48 hours, probably.
Yeah, Florida State said something about it's not if, it's when we're going to be out. I again, I don't know the legalities behind it. I don't know what it'll take, but the craziest part to me of the ACC situation is like I remember. Do you remember when Nebraska and Colorado left the Big 12? And the big reason why they left was the pie wasn't split up equally between every team. They wanted it where every team got a fair share. The way the Big 12 was set up at the time, Texas and Oklahoma got the big pieces of chicken. They got the breasts and the thighs, and everybody else got they got the wings. And it's to me it made sense because Texas and Oklahoma were the breadwinners. They're the ones who are bringing in all the money. They should probably get a little bit more. How the ACC could possibly let Florida State, which is the biggest program in their conference, and I know Clemson's won a couple national titles in the last 8 years, 10 years, whatever it is,
but bigger brand for sure.
Florida State is the brand there, and I don't understand how you could let them get upset, like how you could let it get to the point where they're upset about their revenue share. Like if anybody should be pissed off, it should be Wake Forest and Virginia Tech, and let them be pounding the table. Hey, we're not getting enough money. Okay, what are you going to do? You going to go play in Conference USA? See ya. You cannot let Florida State get that way. There's no way you can let Florida State, Miami, Clemson, and I get like maybe North Carolina and Duke for basketball purposes. Right. Piss off whoever else you want. Keep those schools happy because those are the schools that are bringing money. Those are the schools that at the end of the day, if you don't have those schools, people don't take your conference seriously. The Pac-12, like you see what's happening. USC and UCLA leave the Pac-12, which I guess we can transition. USC and UCLA leave the Pac-12, and then suddenly it's like, ooh, what are we doing here? What's this thing going to look like? Colorado leaves last week, which we talked about. Now the Big Ten's like, well, maybe we'll take Oregon and Washington and maybe Utah. Now what's left? Utah, I guess, might go to the Big 12 with the Arizona schools. So now teams like Stanford and Cal are hoping the Big Ten takes two more. And teams like Oregon State and Washington State, they probably need to start getting ready to play in the Mountain West Conference. Like that's what's happened to those teams because where else are they going to go? It falls apart as soon as you take away those big programs. And kudos to the Big 12. They knew that, and they were at least proactive about it. Like you can't replace the brands that they lost, but they at least got enough back and like to keep themselves viable.
Yeah.
The Pac-12 was slow to react, and they just got picked apart. And now they're barely a conference, and it probably won't be a conference for much longer.
Yeah, and that's the thing with the Big 12, how fast this thing all changed. We knew the Big 10 and the SEC were going to be fine. I thought the ACC would be fine because they basically have a TV deal through 2036. And, and what really killed the Pac-12 was their commissioner couldn't get anything done with the TV deal, especially after USC and UCLA left. It was going to be hard. But you're talking about a deal that's going to be online with the American Conference probably. And if that, and the Big 12 is going to get their schools $30 million a year, which is going to be as good as anybody not named SEC or Big 10, and there is enough TV things out there for them to make good money, and that's what they're doing. And I know Amazon was talking about doing a deal with the Pac-12, but it wasn't going to be anywhere near $30 million a team.
Well, the Apple deal looks like it's going to be it was the best thing that was available, best thing offered. And that looked like it was at about 20 mil a team, which is 10 less than what the Big 12's getting. So that lets you know what the market is for those with no TV. Like there's no like TV brand that says we'll go along with the Apple streaming.
Yeah. Theowan brings up a good point. He says part of the Big 12 was the timing and how recently they renegotiated their TV deal. I do think from a timing perspective, it didn't fall in their laps, but it made it easier for them. Because Oklahoma and Texas left at the right time. And they had time to react and get some brands that, like we said, they're not going to be Texas and Oklahoma, but you got four pretty good brands And then we start talking about, okay, if you're the Pac-12, where are you going to go to get teams? There's not those kind of brands available out there in the American anymore. I mean, maybe Memphis, but that's not going to work in the Pac-12. And you start hearing Memphis and SMU and all this stuff, and it's like, yeah, that's not going to do it. And so, from that perspective, I think the Big 12 was a little fortunate that it happened when it did, and they were able to go and get those teams. And now they're in a position where, if I'm them, uh, I'd like to get Arizona and start with that. I think that's a good footprint, another good basketball school, and then wait and see what happens. If Oregon and Washington wind up in the Big Ten, fine. You take Arizona State and Utah. If not, I think I'd rather have Oregon and Washington. But I think they're in a good spot where you just kind of sit back and wait for the cards.
Yeah, I don't disagree. Like I said, the Big 12 did the best job they could have done given the circumstances. Like there was no good way to end that, but they've made like chicken salad out of chicken bleep, if you will. So just as long as they did something, because what the Pac-12 did, sit around and do nothing and wait, was clearly the wrong move.
Yeah, and I mean that eventually cost them USC and UCLA, and it goes back to when we first started the whole idea of Texas and Oklahoma going to the Pac-12. There were schools in the Pac-12 that shot that down. They wouldn't be in this place if they'd done that back then.
Oh, imagine that! Like, imagine that they were like, we don't know if Oklahoma is a cultural fit for the Pac-12. Yeah, well, guess what a cultural fit is now? Like Boise and San Diego State. Good luck with Fresno State. That's the culture the Pac-12 wants. Congratulations, you got it.
And I talked about this the other day. If it's very weird because you go back 10 years, and the Big Ten always wanted schools that had academics that fit their footprint. The SEC never really cared. They're like, yeah, if you're good, we want you. And the Pac-12 was the same way, and now it's just, I mean, they've blown every chance they could have to do it, and the Big Ten can still do what it wants, but they've lowered their standards on who they've let in. I mean, Nebraska's not Northwestern when it comes to academics. I'm sorry, but it's interesting that was such a big deal for a long time, and now nobody cares. Like cultural fit, no, a culture is one that makes a lot of money.
Yeah, that's the culture you want.
Exactly. And Flea says all the dumbs go to the SEC. No, it's not that. They just don't have the standards, but nobody cares, right? That's the best league.
I mean, they've got some, like, as long as you don't like fall below a certain threshold, when you've got schools like Vanderbilt, Florida, Texas, all you need is a handful of good academic schools, and people can't talk too much shit. It's not a total disaster. So as long as you don't have a whole conference full of dummy schools, you're probably okay.
Yeah, but you know what? It's interesting to me that none of that matters in any of this talk now. Nobody's looking to say, "Oh, we need to go add Rice so we can have an academic an institution," which I mean the American did, but that they also wanted to stay in the Houston market. But nobody's looking to do that. It's just like, okay, what makes our conference better? I think the one thing with Oregon and Washington is, from what I've read and what I understand, the other Big Ten teams are not going to make any more money off of this if they bring them in. And also that USC, even though they don't have a vote yet, doesn't want any more West Coast teams. And so I don't know what's going to happen there, but the idea to do this is to add money. And like I think what the other thing the Big 12 has done really well. If they add 3 teams, that's another $90 million that they're going to get paid from the TV network. So the TV network's going to pay those teams basically. So they've got that set up to where if they could add, I don't know how many. I'm sure there's a limit to it, but if they do that, but if you're the Big Ten, it's kind of like why?
I mean, it's a good question. And but I guess maybe the answer is if you don't get them, maybe the SEC takes them, or maybe, I mean, and maybe it's a good thing for the Big 12 if the SEC and the Big Ten don't take Oregon and Washington, that's the bells of the ball. Like that's bigger than anything the Big 12 could have hoped to get.
Right.
So it like that's as close as they could come to replacing Texas and Oklahoma. It's not really close, but it's a lot better off than they would be. Colorado doesn't move the needle, things like that. So if you can bring in those schools, like if the Big 10 passes, that's a great thing for the Big 12.
No, I agree, and that's why. But if you're the Big 12, you can afford to wait
Yep.
because you could probably go get Arizona State and Utah tomorrow if you wanted to. So why not just wait and see what happens? And if they have to come crawling to you, then I think you're better off with Oregon and Washington than you are with Utah and Arizona State. But I do like the idea of Arizona for sure. I think I'd like to get in that market, and I think that's plus a lot more attractive women coming to town to play UH. So there's that. But not that that matters. But
No, of course not.
at least to me, because I'm old and broken down. But it didn't.
Yeah, something tells me that Arizona co-eds aren't going to be interested in you when they come to town, Fred.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you're right. I don't know why. I mean, gosh, look at me. I'm a handsome. All right. I want to get into some NFL stuff. Let me tell you about Dr. Linville real quick. Doc was on Monday, and we had a great chat. And he and I actually hung out last Tuesday and had a really good time. He's got all kinds of services for you. Now, what I did was I got the hair grafts, and it was awesome. I mean, no anesthesia. They just numb you. It's just like going to the dentist. Minimal pain. 95 to 90% of the grafts take because they're handled and prepared safely. And all of mine have done there. He's done it 3 times himself. And his hair looks awesome. And I could definitely use another run. But he comes up with an individualized plan for each and every patient. And it's only $4 per graft. And all you have to do is go to hairspecialisthouston.com. Now, if you've got one of the ladies in your life that wants to get some work done, I mean, Dr. Linville does everything. He can help with all kinds of issues. And I have a couple friends who are going to send their wives there. And even for that, and not just the hair, if you book a consultation and you tell them you heard about it on Falconcast, your consult fee will be waived. That's a $150 value. So you can go talk to him and just see, hey, what are we doing here? And he'll be happy to take care of you. All right, that's Dr. Linville, hairspecialisthouston.com. All right, couple of things I wanted to get to with the NFL. I mean, technically, we have a preseason game tonight. I mean,
the Hall of Fame game.
The Hall of Fame game, and it's going to be like this is if you're an XFL fan or a USFL fan, this is your scouting night, basically. Go out there and watch some of these cats and see who could fit on your XFL team. But it's good to have. I mean, now at least, preseason is what it is, but at least this is getting us closer to real football.
Yeah, it's like the Hall of Fame game is even worse than a typical preseason game because these are mostly the guys who they already know aren't going to make the roster. These are just warm bodies to try and not get hurt because they still have to play their preseason. These things have typically been really low scoring, which I've been surprised. There's been some money come on the over. It's pushed all the way up from 31 to now 34, which sounds like a really low number. It is. It'd probably be the under for me. The Browns, you're going to see some. I think you're going to see some DTR in the second half. Some Dorian Thompson-Robinson. You'll see some Chris Streveler in the second half for the Jets. Some Zach Wilson in the first half. And probably your boy, Aggie Kellen Mond, will be starting for Cleveland. So it'll be there'll be some really bad quarterback play, but there's going to be bad defense too. But just historically, these games have gone under pretty consistently.
Well, if you see I saw a lot of Streveler in the CFL. He can run.
He can run. That's it.
And Dorian can run. So maybe they just go out there and wishbone it. Both teams.
It wouldn't shock me.
Yeah, and I mean, these are guys that if they wind up playing quarterback in a regular season game, then you've lost 3 quarterbacks during the course of the season, most likely. But for them, that's where they kind of go out there and try to show something, and maybe they do. Maybe somebody makes a roster. I didn't even realize Kellen Mond was back in the league.
Remember, like 2 years ago, when like people were pushing for Kellen Mond to start over Kirk Cousins?
Yeah.
And Mike Zimmer was like, "No, like, I've seen this guy practice. There's a reason why he's not starting. I don't know what you guys are talking about. You guys don't realize anything about this guy." And
Well, and whoops, did you get
sure
frozen
enough,
on me there?
yeah, Kellen Mond, not very good. I
Yeah,
did for a second. Yeah, I feel like I'm back.
But yeah, I mean, it was funny when the coach is saying this guy can't play and it's his first year. That's a pretty telling sign. So,
Yeah. Normally say, "Oh, we want to take it slow." He was just like, "No, bro, this guy is not. He's not going to be out there."
well, and I just remember at A&M, he's one of those guys that was just stiff, and I never thought he'd be a good NFL quarterback because, it just mechanical. And he was a good college quarterback, but he didn't look like a guy that was going to translate to the league. So, I don't know, maybe he'll go out tonight and complete 9 of 10, and I'll be like, "Oh, I told you Kellen Mond could play."
Sign him to an extension, then. Go get him.
Jaron asking, when do we start fantasy talk? I'm gonna do a fantasy special with Chris Dell probably next week, and just do like a whole show on it because Chris, that's what he does, and I'm sure AJ and I'll hit on it a little bit next week too because I know you're getting into your fantasy drafts now.
I haven't done any research. I haven't looked at anything even. We've done a couple drafts on the Dream Preview, like where we draft teams.
Yeah.
But we haven't done anything with players. So I've just been I don't have time really to play fantasy anymore. I've got one fantasy league that's like it's got some decent money attached to it. But outside of that, I'm mostly focused on teams.
Yeah, I do one league that I've done for a few years with some of the other. Well, I guess I'm not really a radio TV guy anymore, but like Nate Griffin and Butch Alcindor and all those guys that I do. But Chris is like religious about it, so he was pitching me on, hey man, let's do an hour-long show on it. I'm like, okay, cool. And so we're gonna draft against each other and have some fun with it. Try to involve the listeners as well, and we'll see how it goes. But it's not, it's something that I'm just not passionate about anymore. And I don't know if it's because I'd rather just bet. I mean, I think that's kind of it. Like I'd rather bet a player prop
Yeah.
than play daily fantasy with a guy and draft him. And and maybe that's just me changing over the years in what interests me. But and so I was like on the subject of gambling, players betting on their own schools. That Iowa State thing's pretty weird. But I mean, I don't want to sound wrong about this, but guys, this has been going on forever. And the thing is, it's easier to get caught now because
Yep.
it's legal. Because it's legal, they can track you a lot easier. When you were going to Bob's Used Bookie Shop, ain't nobody tracking you. And
That's the beauty of the in the gray gambling. Like no one who's ever bet with a bookie, like a random bookie, gets caught. Like it just doesn't happen. Like or at least not professional athletes. Every professional athlete that's been caught betting on sports has been on an app, on DraftKings typically, or FanDuel, whatever. It's just if you think that you've got some kind of privacy when you're doing things on your phone, you don't. Like make no mistake, they are watching you, and somewhere in that whatever that 3,000 page freaking thing you sign, you click I agree at the beginning when you sign up for DraftKings. It basically lets them geo track you, and they'll say, oh, it's so we know you're making a bet in a legal state. Cool. But the fact that like this story says geo tracking had bets coming from their dorm, like it's like, dude, why if I'm in the right state, why does DraftKings care beyond that? Like DraftKings shouldn't be able to know what if I'm at my house or if I'm at at the corner store. It's just you don't have any privacy on that.
Yeah, and the thing about it is, guys, I hate to tell you this, but you don't have any privacy on anything right now.
No.
They're tracking you on everything, and it's amazing that we walk around with our iPhones all proud. And the reality is, man, I was watching the Spy Show the other day. It's kind of a documentary, and they can track individuals from drones on your cell phone. So if you're going to bet and you're not supposed to, somebody's going to find you. And but this has gone on for a long time, and there've been a lot of instances where college students have bet. And look, I know a bunch that have done it and not got caught. But nowadays, man, you can't. It's just, oh, this is easy. I'll just go do this. I mean, that's how we knew what Calvin Ridley did.
Yep.
Like exactly what he bet. So, and the AI is going to take over the world because the reality is
they might beat the monkeys.
Yeah, they're going to beat the monkeys. I was doing this the other day. I was power ranking how the world ends here in the next 5 years. I have Aliens is the slight favorite, right right at even money. AI is about plus 110, right behind them. The monkeys have kind of fallen off a little bit. Yeah, so that's where we are with all this. And then, whatever the next COVID is on that list. But
it's got to be.
Yeah,
or civil war. Civil war could be the end.
Oh, that's true. But yeah, I might have to flip flop between AI and aliens, though, because the aliens they've been confirmed, but they're not here yet. AI is everywhere, so
and monkeys are everywhere.
Yeah, they are, and I haven't forgot about them. They may be the sneaky ones.
They are, man. Like you're just lurking.
But I always worry if what if somebody turns on the wrong AI, right? And boom, it changes everything. Because if I'm an AI, I mean, I'm not intelligent. I am a little artificial. But if I am, I'm taking over the computers first. They're sexier than humans.
I think that's their only way.
Yeah. Well, and then robots. I mean, and then they control the robots.
Yeah.
And then they control the drones. Yeah, and Heartthrob says, I saw iRobot. I know how the whole AI thing ends. Nope.
Yeah.
Yeah, because once they're there, they don't have to give it up. I mean, fortunately,
and why should they?
Well, Will Smith was able to come up with some way to kill the main AI, but we're not going to have Will Smith to do that for us when this happens.
No.
So we need to be prepared for that.
We haven't seen much of him since the slap, so it's he's in hiding.
Yeah, that was boy, I got a long story behind that too. I wanted to, but before I let you go, what do you got coming up this week? I know you're doing the morning pod 3 days a week, and what else you got going on at pregame?
5 days a week, Monday through Friday, the morning pod. So check that out. If you're not subscribed to Straight Out of Vegas AM, do that. And then other than that, man, I'm working on college football stuff, putting together some preseason win totals, some week 0, week 1 stuff, trying to find out who I like early on. And then there's UFC this weekend in Nashville, pretty solid card. So Corey Sandhagen and Rob Font, the headliner. So there's some decent fights on this weekend. And of course, Jake Paul and Nate Diaz. So I'll probably be watching some celebrity boxing as well.
Yeah, I those things don't interest me usually, but I just want to see somebody beat his ass,
Yeah. I don't know if Nate Diaz will. I hope he will, but hope in one hand and see which fills up first.
Yeah, masturbate in the other. Yeah. Anyway. Oh wait, that was me. All right. Well, listen, brother, appreciate the time as always, and everything good with the kids?
Everything's good, man. Yeah. Oh well, constantly. That's the older one year round. He had. I think I told you he had a little scare. He got hit with a freaking baseball bat in the elbow, like between innings, talking to his pitching coach. So while he was pitching, he came off the field, talked to his pitching coach. The kid on deck is swinging a bat with a weight on it, and slips out of his hand and hits Jake in the elbow.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, like it couldn't have. It was the last game of the summer league, so not great timing. Summer league playoff game in the second inning. for the starting pitcher to get hit with a baseball bat. So, but he's all good now. He's back to throwing. Everything's normal again. So, yeah, just getting ready for school. Getting ready for school. It's crazy.
Yeah, when do they start there? I think they start here next
Monday.
week.
Yeah, they start on Monday. Well, Jake starts on Tuesday, but Holden starts on Monday. He's going his first day of middle school, and then Jake will be a junior. So they're getting old fast.
Yeah, I remember when they were tiny, and
Yep.
Now I see the pictures. I'm like, Jesus Christ, I don't even recognize them. So
yeah,
but,
Jake's 6'4". He's bigger than I am. It's weird.
Well, man, have a great week, and thanks again. We'll do this again next week, and we're getting close to having lots of football to talk about. But I really wanted to get into some of the expansion stuff because that's another thing that I just don't think enough people study enough as to what's going on, and it's great that the MMA and college football in particular. I know that I can talk to you and get great insight. So I appreciate that as well as everything else, including me being ugly. But we'll do it again next week, man, and appreciate the time. And hey, thanks. We're not done yet, Twitchers. I got a couple other little things for you. You know that. But yeah, for those of you who have tuned in, I'm seeing so many familiar names. I appreciate you. I'll get better at interacting on the Twitch as we go. In fact, I think on Mondays I'm just gonna leave a whole segment where that's all I do is talk with you guys, and we'll see how that goes. But the show's developing still. But anyway, that's the great AJ Hoffman, and always a pleasure to have him on. And I know you guys love him, so I need to tell you right now about and Andrew was on the chat earlier. I saw him, Lanham Industries. Really, really cool things that they do at Lake Livingston. And as you guys know, if I can ever get this movie deal done, I'm going to get me a place on Lake Livingston and probably just stay there. But they've got quality service for your vacation home, anything. And the great thing about these guys, they do everything. If you're looking for a place, they can consult and help you find the right home and location, decor and themes, price points, all the things you're looking for. You just go and say, hey, I want to do this, and they'll help you find it. But it's also a great place for all your home service needs: cleaning, lawn care, laundry, maintenance, inventory management, property management services available. All things that I'm going to need because I don't do very well with cleaning or lawn care or laundry or maintenance. They'll be able to take care of that for you. They've got a lot of great companies over there that are under this umbrella. Highly trained and dedicated crew, consistent 5-star rating from guests and owners, veteran owned and operated. And you can contact them at 936-581-6166 or 346-773-9577, or just go online to lanhamindustries.com. And if you can't remember any of that, you can just email me at the Falconcast@yahoo.com, or you can hit me up on Twitter, and I'll get you all the information. But if you've got a place out there, and I got a friend, he's out of town right now, but when he gets back, he's going to reach out because he's got a vacation home out there. So check them out. Flea says, Fred's getting lazy in his old age. 2 days a week is his quota these days. I know. I want to get to 3. I just need one more advertiser. That's it. One more big advertiser, and we can get to 3 days a week. But yeah, I'm looking at adding another show at some point. And we do some specials. Like I said, we did a special off the Verlander trade. We'll do a fantasy football special with Chris Dell. But the idea is, I want to build it slowly. I want to make it something that you guys want to come and get because, if we're there every day, then, you can tune us out sometimes, right? You can miss a day and not feel bad. So I want it to be fairly exclusive at the beginning. That's why we're keeping things right at an hour. And, so that you'll want to come to the show. And please tell your friends about it. That's the big thing. We don't have, the thing that's kind of, not everybody's on Twitter, not everybody's on Facebook. And please tell your friends who aren't that we're here, because people are just now finding out about it. And, they love it that AJ's here. And it gives me and AJ a chance to cut things up a little bit. And I will just say the one thing, I know it's only an hour, but when we were on radio, dirty little secret, there was about more than 20 minutes of advertising on every show where they were recorded advertising. So on this, you talk the whole time, and then plus I do the live reads. So it really is more like, I don't know, a little more than half of what the Blitz used to be in terms of timing. But yeah, it's only 2 days a week, and it's not laziness. It's not laziness. It's just old age. And plus I'm still trying to figure out what I'm going to do besides this. And I've got some opportunities, but I've also got a lot of business interests that are about to take off. And if all that happens, then yeah, I might just add a third day anyway. But our ad inventory is getting really close now to where we're almost full. So I need one more big one, and I've talked to a couple people, so we'll find out. And if we get there, uh, I'll ask you guys what day you want, Tuesday or Wednesday, because it's easiest to get AJ on Thursday, so I'm not changing that. Plus, we can set up the whole, once football starts, we can set up the whole weekend, right? We can do all the stuff we used to do, and, we'll go from there. Flip wants to know, would you ever get a co-host? I eventually might. Right now, I kind of feel like with the guests and you guys, I don't really know that I need one, but I've definitely considering it. Especially if I add a third show, I'll definitely want a co-host for that one. But yeah, it is one of those. It's one of those things that this is still growing. I'm still trying to make it what it's going to be, and I'm just getting my feet back into this. I mean, I did the national show for a year, but that wasn't the same thing. I mean, we do fun stuff here, right? And try to balance the fun with giving you good sports content. So, still kind of finding my way on that. All right, I'm going to tell you about Lawyer Dave because he was supposed to be here and he has not shown up. Busy man, out winning cases for the people. And this is another one I just kind of want to get your guys' advice on. King of all witches, Falcon, is there a gambling flavor to the show in general? Yeah, I definitely. I want to point this out because, like on Mondays especially, I try to have at least one of my gambling guys on from the Sports Map Elite days, whether it's Brandon, whether it's Chris, whether it's Dalton. And actually, I had Dalton and Chris on Monday. So there's always at least one segment dedicated to gambling. And, especially on Mondays. And with AJ and I, it just kind of comes out organically. So, you know, we definitely have that. So for those of you who are new, especially Monday, BC is going to be on with me Monday, and he bets a lot of baseball, so you can dive into that. And I've also got Eva Elliott's going to come on Monday, fantastic comedian. I want to get back to some of that. Having some fun people. Our buddy Koo's going to come on in a couple of weeks, so it's still going to be the same kind of show. I just, I'm going to mix it up, but there will always be a gambling element and, always be a sports element. And hopefully there will be, some comedic elements and things like that that will work in, and midget strippers and all those things. So anyway, all right, I got to tell you about Lawyer Dave, Estimaker and Straub, 713-626-8900. And Lawyer Dave is fantastic, and hung out with him a little bit, I think, Tuesday night. And Dave is the kind of guy you need if you have any kind of legal problem. All you have to do is call that number, 713-626-8900. And he does personal injury, right? So if you're in a car accident, and if you're in Houston, you're going to be in a car accident, just call him first, because the insurance companies are going to try to screw you because they got their own lawyers. That's why you need your own lawyers. The best thing about Dave is he doesn't win a thing unless you win. So if you he takes your case and you win, he's gambling on you, he's gambling on himself. And it doesn't cost you anything. So if you got a question of any kind, then just give him a call. Because if he can't do it for you, he'll find you someone who can. And if you don't have a case, he'll be nice. He'll tell you, hey, sorry, you don't have a case. There's nothing we can do here. Also working on something really cool with Dave, where he's going to do a podcast where he answers your legal questions. So anyway, if you need a lawyer, 713-626-8900. Better dial Dave. King of all just says, go advertise you. I will take any Lake Charles casino now. If somebody wants to come in and sponsor from one of those, the problem, there's Lawyer Dave. Of course, now he shows up after I just did the read. Jeez,
Hey now.
I just did your read,
Thank you.
so you could tell
Just-
them.
Well, Fred's one of my best friends. This podcast is blowing up. Everybody that's watching or listening, tell a friend. And while you're at it, tell them about Lawyer Dave, who can answer all your legal questions. Hit me up, 713-626-8900. I got an email address and all that web stuff too, although I can't tell you what it is. But if you
Twit-
you can find me. I'm
Twitter is
around.
at
I'm easy to find.
Twitter is at Lawyer Dave Law.
There you
I know
go.
that one. Yeah. No, but not Dave. I was just saying. We've talked about an occasional podcast that you doing, which you could just get on here and people could ask legal questions on the Twitch,
Hmm.
and you could help them out.
Definitely. If anybody's got any questions, I'm sure Fred will let me stay a couple more minutes. I'll be glad
Yeah.
to entertain anything.
Yeah, if you do have any legal questions, now's a good time to ask them. And the reality is, the you know, especially, and I talk about this all the time, man. If you're in the city, you're going to be in an accident, and people
Oh
don't
yeah.
think that they need to call a lawyer, but tell them why they do.
Well, oftentimes the insurance companies will do this little flim flam where they string you along, and then keep telling you they'll pay, they'll pay, they'll pay, and then 2 years and 2 days later they send you a letter saying, "Oh, the statute of limitations has expired. You get nothing now." That's one thing I've seen before. Additionally, they'll oftentimes come at someone just after an accident and say, "Oh, you're really not hurt. Here's $500. I know your shoulder's dislocated, but it'll get better." And people fall for that. So that's why I think that people are wise to consult with a lawyer. They may not hire a lawyer ultimately, but they're wise to consult with a lawyer to figure out what their rights really are and proceed accordingly.
Let's see. We do have a couple semi-legal questions. Where's the
Okay,
best
let's
place?
have them, Fred.
Where's the best place to bury the body? Chris from Sam Houston.
I would say Galveston Bay is a good place because the tide goes out quite a bit.
Yeah, we had a saying growing up: the Gulf is deep and full of sharks. So,
Not
uh,
that I'm recommending that you do that. Believe me, that would be committing a crime. So I wouldn't suggest it, but that would be my best bet. What's the next one,
uh,
Fred?
Dave, do you represent Twitchers who have been wrongfully banned from the 97.5 channel?
Well, I do. I represent Fred. Does that count?
Yeah, I don't know if I've been banned because I haven't been on there since I left, but
Well, I
yeah,
represent Brandon. Um,
yeah,
AJ, you. I don't think any of you guys have been banned necessarily, but uh,
yeah.
they
You've
sure
done
could
legal
use
stuff.
y'all. That's for sure.
Yeah, you've done legal stuff for all of us. My favorite was
Mhm.
still the AJ thing with the allegedly hitting the car with the bullet, but
Well, it did happen to match the caliber of the weapon he owns, and he did claim to have been rather exuberant one night, firing rounds into the air. So, but we resolved that problem successfully.
all right. Well, yeah. Let's talk about that podcast a little bit. I want to get with you on that. I got some ideas, and I know we just kind of kicked it over a little bit the other night. But when we have some more time, and I'll be around all weekend. If you're not up to anything, hit me up.
And let me just offer one prognostication before I leave today, Fred, which is I think the signing of Verlander helped Fromber's mental state to pitch that wonderful game he pitched the night you and I watched baseball together. I think it was Monday.
Yeah, it was
And I think with Verlander back in the fold, I think we got a pretty darn good chance of a repeat. And I'm pulling for it with all my heart.
Yeah, I think it'd be a lot of fun, man. And we did a whole show on it the other day, a special, and then AJ and I talked about it at length. But I think you're right about that. It makes he's the dog at the top of the rotation. It makes everybody's job easier. So
Yep.
All right, brother. Thanks for dropping in, and I'll talk to you soon. And I'm
Thanks for
gonna
having
wrap
me.
it. Oh, sure thing. Always. You're always welcome here, sir.
Keep at it, Falcon Cresters. Let's stay in the Falcons jet stream and keep on climbing.
Yeah, I don't know what that means.
I don't either. It just means let's roll. Let's roll, baby.
All right. Okay,
Okay.
guys.
See you
Just one more
later.
time. I want to thank everybody for tuning in today on Twitch, on Facebook, on Twitter, and weighing in. I promise I will get better. Uh, with getting to the comments, and especially if I wind up doing a show where somebody else is co-hosting, it's easier. That was one thing that we were always very good at on the Blitz, and I want to get better at. But yes, if you want to support the show, if you know somebody who wants to advertise, just have them email at thefalconcast@yahoo.com. Make sure you put the in front. Otherwise, it goes somewhere else. And we just need one more good one. And I'm not talking about a ton of money either. And I mean we got some new ones coming this month, but the big dogs like the Lawyer Dave and the Phoenix and Dr. Linville. I just need one more of those. So like I said, if you know of somebody, please just point them my way. I do well by my advertisers, as you can probably tell. And all right, so I'm going to leave you with final thoughts, and I've kind of been trying to find themes, right? So here's one for you. How about a sex theme today? A couple were getting married. So they were basically doing the bachelor party, bachelorette party, and they did it together. This is probably why this is not a good idea. The 23-year-old woman had initially thought that would be a great idea. While many people tend to regret things after that, I probably had some things. Um, the party revolved around the couple and their pals going to strip clubs in a hired bus limo. It also ended with 4 people dropping out of the wedding party altogether. And they also have a cleaning bill for the limo, but they also caused 3 breakups during this party, and 1 divorce. And so now all the people are out of the wedding party, and it turned into a everybody banging everybody disaster. So just, this is a public service announcement. That's a bad idea. You're just asking for these people to start banging each other. And one of them got arrested. So it was that's the kind of party it turned into. Virginia Buttonweed, 3 breakups and a divorce, more like 4 blessings. The other one's a little weird. And this is a guy who probably would have gone to that party if you were, 30 years younger. This man is so obsessed with porn that he has converted his home office into a sex museum to display the 10,000 items he's collected. He estimates his items are worth over $44,000, but he has countless vintage sex toys, sex dolls, and pornographic films. He hopes to open the museum to the public, as he believes the history of sex should be celebrated. Andres Bagoli, 56, from Vancouver, Canada, first became obsessed with all things erotica when he was 11 years old. Yeah. When I was 11, yes, I was looking at Playboys, but that's not quite the same thing. And, at what just go weird. This is weird. So between that and just some public service announcements here. Don't do bachelor and bachelorette parties together. I mean, everybody's going to go get laid at those parties, right? You don't want to do it with each other because then the other one sees it. And maybe back off the porn collection a little bit. Just curious. All right, that's going to wrap it up, guys. I want to thank you all so much. I will see you Monday. BC in Houston's going to be here. Eva Elliott's going to be here. She's very funny. She's going to be emceeing our charity event. and it'll be a fun show. So 4 o'clock live, and please just keep passing the word on. That's how we built the Blitz, because they never spent any money on us. So same thing here, man. Just keep telling your friends, hey, Fred and AJ are back together on Thursdays, and he does Monday as well. And hopefully, we'll keep building. Thank you guys so much, and have a great, great weekend. And until Monday, stay sportsy, Gulf Coast badasses.